Yo, what's up, everybody? What's going on with y'all? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, what is it? Good afternoon? Nah, still good morning. So I wanted to talk about Shedeur Sanders today. I just did a show, went live last week to talk about Shannon Sharp. And, people were asking me like, yo, what do you think about Shedeur? And, everybody was watching it online and tuned in, and people are mad. People are going to boycott the NFL, and I'm not watching football anymore, and I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and all this other stuff, man, all this foolishness. But I want to just talk to y'all about the real reasons. We are looking at this thing. A lot of people are looking at this thing in an unrealistic way, in a way that is not in line with reality. You know what I'm saying? It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery why Shedeur Sanders was not drafted in the top 5 picks, or even in the first or second or third or fourth round at all. He was drafted in the 5th round. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that is. But before I get into it, man, I want to ask y'all to go ahead and subscribe over at DaDonTolbertShow.com. Add yourselves to the Friends of the Daedon Tolbert Show group for exclusive content. So let's talk about it. So obviously, we're talking about racism here, right? That's going to play a part in it. Is racism 100% the reason why he was not drafted? Not at all. Not at all. So let's take a look at it. So Shedeur Sanders is Deion Sanders' son. If you guys watch football, if you're familiar with football, Deion Sanders is one of the greatest athletes ever. You know what I'm saying? One of the best football players the NFL has ever seen. Excellent athlete. But what happens is when you are in corporate America, okay, and that's what we got to talk about. We got to lay that foundation. They are in corporate America. A lot of you guys work in corporate America. I spent 20 years in corporate America. That is when you work for a billion-dollar company. That is when you are at the lower end of the totem pole. You're not calling any shots. You have a boss. You are getting paid a salary to do a job. Some rich white man at the top of that food chain signs your checks and pays you to do what they want you to do. I've worked in that environment. I come from a history in banking. Many of you work in that environment now. That's what you do. You know, when you get into those environments, what it's like. There's the office politics. There's the hate. There's the racism. There's the gameplay. Like, there's all this stuff that you got to do. Code switching, like we talk about that. There's so many different aspects to working in corporate America. And what often happens is, you ever see people, they get into, black men specifically, they get into corporate America, and the ones who tend to go very high up are the ones who are good at playing the game. They are good at laughing at those stupid jokes that their boss makes, kissing ass, brown nosing, doing what they got to do. They're good at that. I was good at that. You know what I'm saying? I played the game. I made a lot of money, and then I got out of it to do what I'm doing now. I didn't want to play that game anymore. But I understood that as long as I was there, as long as I chose to be there in that environment with those racist white men who didn't like me, I knew I had to play the game. Otherwise, I was going to get fired. I was going to not get hired from the next job. And that's just what it was going to be. I had to learn that lesson. And so a lot of times, so you have those guys who understand that you have to play the game. But then on the other hand, you have guys, black men specifically in corporate America, who bounce around from job to job. They can't keep a job. They get fired. They end up going on unemployment. They got to go on disability to do this and that, trying to work the system, different things. They're out of work for a while. They can't find a job. A lot of times the reason for that is they don't know how to, or they're not good at playing the game. There is no way around it. Ask any black man you know, they're going to tell you exactly what I'm telling you right now. They are playing the game. Now, when it comes to, so I just want to lay that foundation so people understand what we're talking about. The NFL is corporate America. It's corporate America. It's just a bigger office, but it is still corporate America. And so you have people like Shedeur Sanders who come into the game. And then we also got to look at it before we even get to that. We got to look at it. We got to go all the way back to slave times. You got to go back to the construct of slavery. You know, as far as the black buck, you took the biggest and blackest, strongest black man. You put him out there in the field. You let him make a lot of money for master. You know what I'm saying? And then what'd you do? You beat him. You beat him in front of the whole plantation so that everybody sees, yeah, he's big, but he still works for me. He doesn't run anything over here. I'm the master. I run this. And they would do that to send a message to the other slaves like, hey, you're not as big as him. You're not as strong as him. You're not as fast as him. And this is what we just did to him. So you better not get any ideas about trying to run away, about trying to, talk slick, or what happened to him is what's going to happen to you. And that's just the reality of it. That's how slavery was. And so again, so you have, what do we have so far? We have the NFL is one big corporate America structure, but it's also a racist structure that's modeled itself after slavery and the plantation. So, and I'm using Dion as this example, is he was the black buck, the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, all this stuff. He made the rich white man a whole lot of money, but at the end of the day, they didn't like him. They didn't like him. They did not like his attitude. They did not like his lack of humility. They don't like that. And so they punished him in his own way because of that. They hated on him. He's talked about racism that he's experienced in the NFL and after the NFL as a result of that confidence. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, well, why should a black man not be able to be confident in himself? Why should we have to tone down our confidence? No, you don't have to tone down anything. You don't have to. You can be confident. I'm very confident. I've always been confident. You don't have to tone it down. But the point is, I'm also self-employed. I'm also not in an office. I'm in my car right now. When y'all see me doing the show, I'm in my house. You know what I'm saying? Talking to y'all. I am an entrepreneur. No one signs my checks. You understand what I'm saying to you? So I don't have to play that game. Dion's check is being signed by someone else. His son is now having his check signed by the same people in the same system. So if you're following what I'm saying, we're talking about why was he drafted. Let's talk about why was he drafted so low. Let's talk about him. Because I'm gonna connect the dots a little bit later, but we got to talk about Shedeur and what role he played. Because it's easy to blame it all on Dion and say, well, Shedeur is the perfect kid. He did everything right. Just because his dad wasn't liked or people didn't want to work with his dad, different things like that, he shouldn't take that out on him. Well, the reality is Shedeur is not blameless in this whole thing. And I don't want to act like we're not talking about racism, because we are. You know what I'm saying? We absolutely are talking about a racist NFL. I mean, did we forget about Colin Kaepernick? Because if we think about it, if I'll put it to you like this, the same reasons Shedeur was drafted in the 5th round is really the same exact reason Colin Kaepernick never got back into the league after taking a knee. You know what I'm saying? I did a whole show, 2-hour show on Colin Kaepernick. I'm not going to go into it on this video, but it's the same thing. You cannot spit in the white man's face. You cannot tell him, I'm going to do what I want to do in your establishment and expect to still work for that racist white man. I told y'all years ago, I supported what Colin Kaepernick did. Right? appreciated what he did, taking a stand for black men being abused and mistreated by this racist and corrupt police system. I appreciated that. But at the same time, I also understood he's going to be out of a job. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be out of a job. He's not going to work no more in the NFL. I knew he wasn't. Why didn't they pick up comment? He just sued the NFL. He just sued them. You know what I'm saying? You can't sue your boss and expect to still work for that boss. You know what I'm saying? Don't even sue your boss. Right now, go to work tomorrow and do what everything you did or you want to do. Say what you want to say. Do what you want. You're thinking right now. Do and say all that stuff to your boss and see what happens. What did I tell y'all about Diddy? I told y'all. Diddy sued his boss. Now look at him. This dude been in jail. He ain't got out since he sued him. All this stuff is because he sued them. Go back and listen to my other videos about Diddy. It's really not rocket science, but I'm going to break it all down for y'all. But it's not really hard to see. You cannot go into the rich white man's living room and say, look, man, I appreciate y'all, but guess what? I'm not playing for you. I'm not playing for you. We're going to go to this team. And then Deion told me, I'm not going to let my son play for this team and that team. No, bro, you're not. You have a false sense of worth. Shedeur is good. Okay? He's a good quarterback. But he is not. So people were not like raving about this guy like they were some of these other people. Not even, he wasn't even better than Cam Ward. You know what I'm saying? Let alone he's on the same level as a lot of these other quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? In fact, there's a reason why all these analysts were saying what about this draft? They said it was a weak quarterback draft. Well, they said it was a weak draft overall, but specifically a weak draft class for quarterbacks. A lot of teams are looking at next year's draft class as being better for quarterbacks. So they weren't really pressed to take a quarterback in this draft anyway. You know what I'm saying? They were not pressed. But let's take a look at, so if we talk about, see, a lot of people don't watch football. A lot of people don't. I play fantasy football. I'm actually really into fantasy football. I'm a 2-time fantasy football champion. You know what I'm saying? 2 different leagues. And so, you know, I'm very into it. So I follow the league. I follow the players. But one of the things you got to realize is all teams didn't need a quarterback, right? We can't act like, well, why didn't this person take him? Everybody didn't need a quarterback. Some people needed an offensive lineman, defensive tackle, different things like, you know, cornerbacks. Everybody didn't need a quarterback. In fact, there were only, I would say, maybe three different teams that really needed a quarterback right now, meaning they don't have a franchise starting quarterback that they wanted to go into the season as the clear-cut starter. There's really only 3 teams that needed a quarterback. One of them was the Texans. Well, 4 teams. One of them was the Texans. And they drafted, the Titans. The Tennessee Titans, they drafted Cam Ward. That was one of them. They needed a quarterback, and they drafted their franchise quarterback. Cool. Crossed them off the board. The next one was the New York Giants, right? The New York Giants just got rid of freaking, what's his name? The white dude, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. You know what I'm talking about. They just got rid of him. He signed up in Minnesota, I think. And so they needed a quarterback. So they drafted him. They drafted the white bull, right? So, okay, cool. Take him off the board. That's who they wanted. So why didn't you draft Shedeur? They didn't want Shedeur. They didn't want him. It is what it is. So they drafted who they drafted. So cross them. So that's New York. Who else needed a quarterback? The Cleveland Browns. Why didn't they draft a quarterback? Well, they did. They drafted another quarterback before him. They signed, they got Deshaun Watson. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to play next year because he tore his Achilles. They got Joe Flacco as the veteran presence. They traded for Kenny Pickett. And then they drafted the other white dude. And then they took Shedeur. So they really don't need a quarterback. They have enough quarterbacks. So they didn't need him. Daniel Jones, thank you. My man Sean. What's up, Sean? Daniel Jones, what's up, baby? Me and Sean go back to elementary school, man. Shout out to him, man. Daniel, I cannot think of Daniel Jones. But, so Cleveland didn't need him. And then who was I wrote it down? Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers needed a quarterback. They don't have a franchise quarterback. People say, why didn't they draft? They didn't want him. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't like all these teams that were realistically going to take Shedeur Sanders in the first round. It was really only like three teams. Because everybody knew Cam Ward was going to the Titans. Everyone knew that. So it was only those three that I just named. So my point is, you can't be mad at them for what they chose to do with their money. Now, but let's go back. Now I want to bring it back. I want to bring it back to what I was saying to you. We have to put some accountability on Shedeur himself. Some criticisms of Shedeur were that he was good. He's very accurate. I think he was the most accurate in the Big 12. I think they said most accuracy, highest accuracy rate. They questioned his arm strength a little bit. They definitely questioned his arm. They said he was not as mobile as like a say like a Michael Vick or like a Randall Cunningham back in the day, or Lamar Jackson. He's not like a mobile QB that's good. Jalen Hurts, somebody who was going to run for 1 million, yards every season. And, and he also, so there was the physical piece of it. He didn't have this big stature that they usually like in these quarterbacks. These new age quarterbacks, mobile, big quarterbacks that could take a hit like a Jalen Hurts, somebody like that. He wasn't that, kind of skinny. And then last but not least about Shedeur is and this is what I'm going to get into. He is a very arrogant person. His dad is arrogant. He's arrogant. We cannot overlook that, right? We can't act like, oh, he's the most humble and this, that. No, he's not. He's very arrogant. And that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine if you work for yourself. It's fine if you're not in a corporate setting. However, when you go in there and say, hey guys, I want you to draft me, but I'm not going to go to the NFL combine. If you don't know what a combine is, it's like this a scouting, convention, if you will, where all the potential draft picks go to showcase their speed, their skills, their mobility, their accuracy, all this stuff. And the NFL scouts are able to go to this combine and evaluate your talent to see if they want to draft you and where they want to draft you. Shedeur said, look, guys, I'm already good. I'm good. Everybody knows I'm good. I'm not going to the combine. If you want to draft me, cool. If you don't, you don't. He chose not to do that. Now, granted, so did Cam Ward. So did a lot of people. But guess what, Shedeur? You're not Cam Ward. You didn't win the Heisman. You're just not him. You're good, but and it's fine if you choose to not do the combine, but you can't say, well, I'm not going to do the combine, but I still want you to draft me at a high, as a high draft pick. You see what I'm saying to you? You can't go in there and say, you can't tell me where I'm going to play. No, we tell you where you're going to play, bro. You don't tell us. And so a big part of why he was not drafted early was, I believe, they conspired. I'm not going to act like I don't believe, just like they conspired against Colin Kaepernick. No one is going to sign this guy. Because was he better? People say, well, he's better. Colin Kaepernick is better than this quarterback, this quarterback, this quarterback, and this quarterback. And he was. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't matter. Just like they said, Shedeur is a better quarterback than this guy, this guy, this guy. Well, the Giants drafted this guy, and Shedeur is better than him. Okay. But he didn't have the attitude. One of the things I got to realize is this. A big part of ownership is deciding who's going to be a good fit for your team. When I was in management, I was in banking, I interviewed a lot of people, And there were only a few slots. It was like me as the manager. I had an assistant manager, and I had room for 3 different financial specialists, if you will. And I got a lot of applications. The human resources department would just send me resumes. And I would look at them, and, on paper, I'd say, okay, this person looks good, this person. And I would interview them. I interview, let's say, the top 5. Now, I might have somebody, and I'm going to be real with y'all. I might have somebody who looked great on paper, but when they came in, I had to ask myself, we're in this small branch for 8 to 10 hours a day. I was there I worked long hours. I had to ask myself, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're qualified for this position. You might even be a little overqualified for this position. But honestly, do I want to work with you 8 hours a day? Do I want to look at you for 8 hours every single day? You know what I mean? Will the other teammates, will they want to work with you for 8 hours every day? And a lot of times the answer to that question was, yeah, you're qualified, but I really don't want to work with you. I really don't like you. I didn't like how you interviewed. Guess what? That was my decision. And this is not a race thing at all. I'm not talking race. I personally, Dedan Tolbert, did not like that person and how they interviewed. So I did not hire them. Period. No one could stop me. No one could say anything to me because I was the manager and that's what I wanted to do. I don't think anybody here would knowingly not like someone or not like how someone interviewed and still choose to hire them whether they were qualified or not. And if you say you would, you're probably not being 100% honest. Now, it's a similar thing with Shedeur. Reports were put out that said he did not interview that well with these teams. He interviewed with a few teams. He didn't do the combine, but he went on interviews. And reports that came out of that, whether they're true or not, I don't know, is he did not interview well. I mean, is that a deal breaker? I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't interview well. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are not as articulate, as one might like them to be. Okay, cool. But you combine that, no interview skills, not that personable, have an attitude, very cocky, legendary. I don't know what that is. This guy's like, you know what I'm saying? He thinks he's like, I don't know what he's been getting this, attitude pumped into him his whole life. Like you're just like above everybody else. Okay, cool. But you can't be mad if people don't want to work with you. Even in his interview, when he was doing the press conference, he was like, we all know this should not have happened. What do you mean? We all know. I knew. Listen, people who I talk to every day, I told them specifically he's not getting drafted anytime soon. People say, oh, he's going 1 or 2. I said, no, he's not. I said that before the draft even started. I said he's not going to be drafted in the first round. I knew that for a fact. I didn't think he would go as far as the 5th round, but I thought it would be like the 2nd round, 3rd round, middle of the 3rd round. But so all I'm saying to y'all is it's not rocket science why he was not drafted. People are making a big deal out of him being prank called. Somebody was prank calling him and some other people, saying all this stuff. Okay, who cares? I used to prank call people in college. Like, we had fun. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, everything is not racism, guys. Everything is not, let's call Al Sharpton and let's go riot and protest. Oh my God, let's boycott this. No, we have to put some level of responsibility on the person. I have a buddy and he's in management and he's looking for a new job. And I had to tell him that if you want this job that you're applying for, there's some things with your appearance that you're going to need to change. I told him that. You know what I mean? I told him you're going to have to do some things, with your style of dress, with your hair, just overall, you're going to have, if you don't want that job, okay, cool, do what you do. But if you want that job, you're going to need to make some changes. When you go into any corporate America environment, You're going to have to make some changes. I didn't want to make any changes. So that's why I'm sitting in my car right now doing what I do. You know what I mean? That's why I started my own business, so I don't have to play that game. You know what I mean? I don't want to play the game. I did it for 20 years. How long does one have to play the game? Shedeur's a rookie. Fresh out of college, early 20s, 19, 20. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any leverage. I couldn't go in there talking about some, I'm not going to work here. I'm not going to do this, that, and the third, telling him where I'm going to go. Nah, I did what I had to do so I can get where I am now. Shedeur has to do that. Now, do I think he'll be okay? Yeah, I do. I think he'll be fine. I think, with all the press around him, I think that he will get a job. I mean, he will have an opportunity to compete for the starting job or the backup job. I know he'll make the roster. He'll probably end up being their third string quarterback. It'll probably be something like Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and then Deshaun Watson. And if Kenny Pickett gets hurt, he'll be the active backup quarterback. You know what I mean? He'll get some second string reps. But outside of that, it is what it is. There was some people were saying, well, there's a lot of money that he lost from going from the first to the fifth. And yeah, he lost a lot of money. He's going to lose some endorsements. He's going to lose there's a certain level of guaranteed money that you can make as a first round pick versus, not guaranteed money, but just the pay structure is different from the first to the second and third and fourth rounds and things like that. So, yeah, he lost some money. But again, I tell my son, be humble. You know what I'm saying? You shake a man's hand, you look him in the eye, you give him a firm grip. You don't go into any situation thinking that you're owed something. You hear people online talking about, they did him dirty. He should have. You get what you get. There is no one owes you. They did not owe him. Colin Kaepernick was not owed a job in the NFL. No one owed him that. You know what I'm saying? No one owed Deion, and he made a way for himself to the point where they couldn't deny him. That's really what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to be so good at what you do to the point where nobody can deny you. Nobody could have denied Deion. Colin Kaepernick was not that good to the point where he could not be denied. That's why he was denied. He really wasn't that good. Let's keep it a buck. He really wasn't that good. Ever. He was okay. He deserved to be in the NFL, but he was never like a Tom Brady or, anything like that. Never. Statistically, he was below average. Now, statistically, Shedeur is above average for a college level quarterback. But how many college level quarterbacks have we seen become failures in the NFL? Most of them. There's no guarantee that just because you're good in college, that's going to translate to being a great NFL quarterback. Just look, every single college quarterback in the NFL right now was just as good, if not better than Shedeur. They're all on the same level. If you're not on that level, you're not getting drafted to the NFL. You're going to end up in the XFL somewhere. But to be a NFL quarterback, not starting quarterback, not starting. I guarantee you, take the third string backup quarterback on any NFL team right now, look them up, and their stats are going to be the best in whatever conference they were in college. I guarantee that's just how it works. Same with Shedeur. Look up Shedeur's numbers and then look at some of these other backup quarterbacks, third and fourth string quarterbacks. Right now in NFL, they're going to be similar. So all I'm saying is you got to be humble. Nobody owes you anything. I am rooting for him. I don't want to make this video seem like I'm a Shedeur hater or anything like that. I'm not. He's a young black kid. I hope he does well. I'm glad he got drafted. But I want to explain to y'all why he was not drafted. I'm not going to be on her and say I'm going to wrap it up, but I've told y'all why. Everything I talked about just now is why he was not drafted. The combine, the attitude, you know what I'm saying? And then there's the actual criticisms of his game. You know, like I said, lack of arm strength, not as mobile. Everybody's looking for the next Lamar Jackson. MVP, you know, led the NFL and all types of statistics. They want that. Who on here listening is going to tell me Shedeur Sanders is the next Lamar Jackson? He's not. And when you're not that, you better be humble. You know what I mean? I talk to I do relationship coaching. I do these shows talking about dating and relationships. I tell these women, ladies, if you are not absolutely gorgeous, if you don't have the best looking face, if you don't have the best body, if you don't have the God-given looks that will make a man stop in his tracks, you better have the best personality. You better have the highest level of respectability and 100% emotional availability, or you're going to be single. You know what I'm saying? You got to have those three things. You know, you can't be average and not have the best personality. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Shedeur is average. He's an above average college quarterback. But he's not, you know, those numbers don't always, they usually don't translate to above average in the NFL. There's a reason why Jalen Hurts wasn't even drafted in the first round. I think the Eagles took him with the second round, if I'm not mistaken. I know he wasn't their first pick. I don't believe. I have to look that up. But I know he wasn't like one of the top draft picks, right? But he was humble. He worked hard, and he was great when it mattered. He won a Super Bowl, and that's what Shedeur has to do. That's what Tom Brady did. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. Dak Prescott was drafted in the 4th round. It's a bunch of them. I forget all the rest of them, but it was a bunch of great quarterbacks that were drafted in later rounds. So what Shedeur needs to do right now is work hard, lose the attitude, lose all that legendary stuff. You ain't legendary, bro. Not yet. Your dad is. Your dad is legendary, but you ain't nothing legendary about you, Shedeur. You know what I'm saying? Stop with all that stuff. I understand that's marketing and that's how you're going to make some money. Okay, cool. But that's not what these rich white men want to hear. They don't want to hear that from you, bro. Like, not right now. Save that for when you throw for 4,000 yards and you win a Super Bowl, or at least take a team to the playoffs. Take the Cleveland Browns from being a garbage team to them to the playoffs. And then we can start talking about this legendary stuff. Outside of that, I don't want to hear nobody else talking about, oh my gosh, woe is me. We're going to boycott because Shedeur was. No, I just told you why he was not drafted, man. So I just wanted to go live real quick today. I'm gonna be coming back with a show. I'll be back in the basement. I call it my sanctuary. I got some really good topics for y'all, man. But like I told y'all, go over, subscribe at DaDonTolbertShow.com. Add yourselves to Friends of the Daydon Tolbert Show group. If you want life coaching, anything like that, check out trclifecoaching.com, man. I appreciate y'all for listening. I'll see y'all next time.